Representatives from Montana's resort communities came to Helena today to ask the legislature to let them increase the resort tax to pay for infrastructure needs. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian looks at why they say the additional tax is needed.
Leaders from 10 resort communities around Montana say it's a challenge to pay for the impacts they see from an annual influx of tourists.
You got 1,300 people trying to provide services for, 10, 12, 14,000 people a night.
You can't tax our real estate enough to pay for it. It can't be done.
The state allows those communities to make up some of the difference through the resort tax. It's a tax of up to 3% on things like hotels, restaurants, and gifts. Now, resort communities are asking for the option to add an additional 1% tax specifically to pay for infrastructure. Senate Bill 241, sponsored by Republican Senator Jeff Wellborn of Dillon, would let voters in those communities decide whether to add the additional amount. Resort tax revenue now goes toward a variety of uses. Leaders say this increase would help them pay for large, expensive projects like water and sewer upgrades. Big Sky Resort area leaders say they are looking at updating their wastewater treatment plant. Currently, treated water has to be stored throughout the winter because it can only be used for irrigation.
We have to store a year's worth of treated effluent before we can start disposing of it.
West Yellowstone's town manager said the limits of their water and sewer systems are holding up the community's growth.
These are realistic projects. These have realistic costs. This is not pie in the sky to say, hey, look, we've got all these infrastructure. These are serious infrastructure needs that we have to deal with now.
Community leaders said this bill could give them another important tool to meet their infrastructure needs.
We have to do more to welcome our guests to Montana.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Local resort communities that could be impacted by the proposed change include Wolf Creek and Craig. This was not the only hearing today for a bill on the resort tax. Democratic Representative Dave Fern of Whitefish introduced House Bill 449, which would allow larger communities to introduce a resort tax.